Hi, and welcome today to Celebrity Customer Experience. Riffs with me, Jill Raff, where we riff on anything and everything from employee experience to customer experience, because I guarantee you, outstanding employee experience will lead to outstanding customer experience. When you have this connection culture inside your company, you can count on your employees delivering an outstanding celebrity customer experience. So I want to start out by thanking you for investing your time with us today. I really appreciate you and know that time is the most valuable commodity there is. So thank you for joining us. It will be worth it. An exciting one today. Some great information, exciting changes going along with what the changes in the market and what's happening. And our guest today is going to talk about how he responded to this paradigm shift, this need in the market. So without further ado, I want to welcome Adam Knight and bring him in today. Thanks, Adam, for joining me.
You got it. Thanks, Jill, for having me.
Oh, of course. I was really so glad we met and really intrigued when we spoke, pre-show conversation to really hear what you're doing. And I think it's going to be really great for others to learn from you, hear what you're doing, spark and trigger some ideas of their own. So first, I want everyone to learn a little bit about you. Today's topic, based on what you're doing, is luxury hotel management meets vacation rentals.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
give that a minute to sink in and
hmm
absorb. I want everyone to envision what that means. I'm going to say it again. Luxury hotel management meets vacation rentals. Adam is the creator and host of Proven Principles podcast, co-founder and CEO of Recreational Vacation Rentals, and principal at Knowing Hospitality, a full-service hotel management company that operates hotels on behalf of owners and lenders. A hospitality veteran and operations expert, Adam brings 25 years of experience across luxury brands and independent companies. Having lived and worked all over North America and the Caribbean, he found his love in hospitality in the left brain, right brain dichotomy of the industry. Love that. We're going to dive into that for sure. 1 minute you're diving into a P&L, and then next you're tasting the new seasonal menu on the restaurant. Love that. His passion lies in understanding how things work and making them better. That's really key, right? Making them better, be it small service experiences or large scale project management. Wow. Exciting. Very exciting, Adam. So, I know people are probably ready to dive into those great details, but let's start at the beginning. I love to hear about people's journey and their backstory, kind of what led them to where they are now in the hospitality world, or you know anything relating to this experience.
Yeah, it's I'll try to summarize because 25 years in what, a couple minutes. Try to
Yeah.
hit the high points. I am born and raised in Western Canada, Edmonton, Alberta. And going through school, didn't really ever know what I wanted to do. I dabbled in a few things. At one point, I thought I was going to go into banking. But the one thing that I knew when I finished high school is that I didn't want to go on to university. Had no interest in doing that, mostly because I just didn't know what I wanted to do. I wanted to get out there and work. So I applied for a job not initially as a pot washer then at a Fairmont hotel, which was then called Canadian Pacific CP Hotels in Jasper, Alberta, in the Canadian Rockies. Didn't know what I was going to get, but they hired me as a pot washer. So I moved, 17 years old, moved 3 hours away from home, moved into staff accommodation. First time in my life that I really had a chance to interact with and work and meet with people from all over the world. And that, honestly, that hooked me. From there, it was just sort of a series of progressions to, I was a room service waiter, and then I was a bellman, and then a front desk agent. And eventually 5 years goes by, and I figured I should probably go to school now at this stage. So I went and I applied for a hotel management program in Victoria, British Columbia. Got accepted, and was very much the old guy in the class at 20 22 or 23 at this stage.
Oh my goodness.
And, did that program, had a great time, and then got back on with Canadian Pacific Hotels still at the time. And things just took off from there. They ended up moving me up through several progressive management positions. I moved to Bermuda, which was really the only international outpost at the time. There wasn't even any U.S. hotels at that stage, and stayed with the company kind of all the way along. Picked up Fairmont, moved to San Francisco, which is how I got to the U.S. back in 2004, and then kind of moved all over the place and just progressively kept going up. And ended up leaving the company as general manager at the Fairmont Southampton in Barbados, which was, 6 or 7 years ago at this stage. Was recruited away to go work for St. Regis, which was an incredible experience. So did that for a little while, and then was recruited away to be VP of operations for a hotel company based in the Bay Area, just outside San Francisco in Menlo Park. Did that for a couple of years, came to Seattle 3 years ago for a very similar job, and then the pandemic hit.
Yeah.
So that's where we are.
Yeah. Wow. So, gosh, right. So I think a huge takeaway that I want everyone to hear, regardless of what level you're working in, what hierarchy you are, where you've reached in your journey, that here he started out as a pot washer, right? As a dishwasher. And so many people think that's below them and wouldn't do it. But it's so commendable that you went in and learned and worked your way. They clearly saw something very good in you, right? You're bright, you're ambitious, you're hardworking, and look how quickly up to the top. Fairmount, St. Regis, heading up operations. And I think that's a lesson to be learned no matter where we are, that if we dive in and we address everything we do as if that's the most important job there is, and that it is crucial to the overall success of the company, which it is, by the way, then you will succeed quickly. You will feel you're doing something meaningful, and that's so important with everything going on today. There's someone here who is a leader in the restaurant world in Austin. His name is Skeeter Miller, and he's instrumental beyond just the Austin level. He's amazing. And he ended up buying and owns one of the largest barbecue chains here. And he started out as a dishwasher. So pretty cool.
Honestly, to this day, between that job and being a bellman, those are the two most fun jobs I've ever had in my life. And to this day, I look back fondly on them. There's been great times along the way, but it's a combination, right place, right time. It's the people that you work with. It's the right organization, which is quite frankly, when you're young anyway, that was back then, that was luck of the draw. Things are very different today with corporate culture and all that. But, my philosophy growing up through my early career was go where the work is. And that's the biggest thing that I think limits a lot of people in this industry is they'll stay in one hotel and hope that they can get promoted up into, successive promotion or successive positions, higher positions. But they have to wait for that one job to open, for that one person to move on or retire. And maybe they'll be in the mix to get the job, and maybe they won't be. And I recognize that moving around the country or moving to a new country isn't an option for everybody, but it's an option for a lot of people. You just got to step outside your comfort zone. And I know that that's a lot easier said than done, but that was how I was able to move up quickly through the ranks because I saw an opportunity, and it may not have been in my backyard, and it may have been somewhere that I was unfamiliar with, but I was more interested in getting that job and growing my career than I was uncomfortable about putting myself in a new situation. So that difference right there propelled me.
A huge difference. Great point, right? Growth. I have this conversation with my kids all the time. Growth is in the discomfort zone, and it's only temporary, until you're bored. And then, when it gets too comfortable, basically it means, okay, it's time to step into something that's a little more uncomfortable so that we can stretch and grow again. So, you of course can't talk today without mentioning COVID. And I think also, moving around, if you have that option, that is key. I think that's huge to get that diversity. What right now do you see as pressing problems in the workplace of what's happening?
That's a very good question. Something I think about a lot because I've been in the position of being on the receiving end of company culture, and I've been on the side of not, dictating is probably the wrong word, but like being in a position to influence company culture is probably a better way to describe it. Um, and I think that in hospitality today, one of the biggest hurdles is the general, and it's not a refusal to recognize the change. It's more about the inability to look at new ways of doing things.
Mm,
And I understand, I look, we could go down a lot of rabbit holes here. When you're talking in hospitality, you've got a lot of stakeholders in place. Maybe you work in a unionized hotel that prevents you from making the meaningful change that you want because the work rules are just what they are. They can't be changed. So look, we're going to set that aside because I get
mhm,
that. That's a more complicated discussion. But at a higher level, some of the things that I experienced throughout my career were the first in last out person in the organization. The productivity is your personal productivity is measured by your face time, not by your output. And
mm,
there's this term that I heard over the holidays called presenteeism, which essentially means that exactly what I just said, like your ranking within the workplace is dictated by how often you're in the workplace,
mm,
not how good you are at your job. And I
mhm,
saw that across many organizations, many hotels, across the board. And I think what happens is that slow sort of like sucking away of your time, your personal time, and your ability to take care of yourself. If you're not careful, you don't know that it's happening to you because
mhm,
you're ambitious and you want to be in it. And if you don't take a second to take care of yourself, and I had this happen to me personally, there was a medical scare over the too much time being and pressure and stress put on
mm,
the output of the job and not enough on my ability to recover and bring my best every single day.
yeah,
So what does that mean at a high level? Well, you've got hotels today, and not just hotels, restaurants, and any real customer facing, service facing business is having a hard time finding staff. Nobody wants to work in these positions anymore.
yeah,
And
yeah,
I could tell you, in 2018 and 2019, when times were great and we thought it was never going to end, we
yeah.
had a hard time finding people.
I know. Yeah, that's the irony. I speak with clients about that. And even my mom, my parents were early owners, operators of McDonald's in the very early days. Like they opened store number 150. So back in 1959, even my mom's like, that was always our biggest problem. So I thought, isn't that interesting, right? Like you look at times before, you look at when times are healthy and strong, and now with COVID, it seems like finding quality people is always a challenge. In
Mhm.
fact, just throw this little tidbit out. Ironically, my parents were the first to hire women in McDonald's.
Wow.
Initially, they were not hiring men, but my dad went to the corporate offices and said, "I can't staff my stores with just men. It's a small town. It was in Ocala, Florida. We need to bring in women," and they did as a result. So it's pretty interesting. But coming back to that, well, first I want to recognize some viewers watching and people attending. Thank you. So a LinkedIn user, unnamed, says, "Great point, being flexible and moving up."
Hmm. Thank you.
Absolutely. So thanks for mentioning that. And Adele, hey, honey, for you to join us. Embracing change is an essential part of life. Changing for the positive should be a daily practice.
Hmm.
This is absolutely to that.
100%.
What can I do better? What can I let go of that doesn't serve me?
Hmm.
Gosh, I think that's so true, both in our personal lives, right, and in business. Um, Change is essential. So I got so much I want to get to with you. So if you could just give a couple quick um, consequences that you see happening as a result of what you find the struggles to be.
Well, I think the obvious one right now is that nobody can find staff,
Hmm.
and nobody can. And I think there's a lot of reasons for that. I don't want to make this sound simple and there's an easy fix to it. I think that there's a fundamental view of how work gets done in hospitality that is going to take a long time to fix.
Mm,
Um, But one of the things, and I live in Seattle, and I've been on the West Coast of North America for a long time, heavily tech influenced. And so one of the things that we deal with a lot is hospitality workers. And this started with chefs getting pulled away to tech companies to go run their food and beverage programs. And slowly what we started seeing is other positions in hotels getting pulled away to work for tech companies. And so,
Mm-hmm.
and this goes back like 5, 6, 7 years now.
Mm-hmm.
And we started scratching our head going, how do we compete with this? What's going on? And as we started to dig into what the work cultures were presented like at the tech companies, whether perception is reality, who knows?
Mm-hmm.
But the flexible work hours, different types of benefits that they would get when they worked there,
Mm-hmm.
unlimited vacation, ability to set your own schedule, this kind of thing, which is like just that's not even in our mindset
Yeah,
in
it's a whole
hospitality. Right? We
different.
don't even think about it. We're like that. There's no recognition that might work. It's like that's crazy. That'll never work. Move on. What are we going to do?
But
Let's
things are
let's
changing,
let's
right?
throw
Like,
out $1,000 signing bonuses and pay our housekeepers $25 an hour, and still nobody's coming, right? So that's the biggest thing. I think that we
yeah.
have to look at how literally how are jobs getting done in your property, and be willing to completely break the mold, because that's the only way that this is going to get any better.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay. So, Adele, always a pleasure to watch you. Thank you, Adele. It's always a treat when you join in. So, thanks. You always have great insight for us. So, Adam, this brings me to what you are doing currently and
Mhm.
how you created an answer to the you know question, so to speak, the big void in the market, the
Mhm.
challenges that we're facing. What led you to create what you're doing, and start to and give us a little more information about that?
Yeah. So, when I was going through my career progression, and then COVID happened. So that when COVID happened, I had a high level corporate hotel job, and I got furloughed and then eventually laid off. And looking at what was going on in our industry, and still, I mean, frankly, still in our industry, things are a little better, but they're not better. uh, I was trying to figure out how I wanted to position myself and take my background and experience and try to do something with it in
Mhm.
an industry that at the time was completely decimated and nobody
Yeah.
knew what was going to happen, right? So
Mhm.
rather than dwelling on, my career is over, how am I ever going to recover from this? The thing that I always wanted to do was start a hotel management company. And so over, a few weeks, with, conversations with some peers and mentors, decided to launch Knowing Hospitality, which is a boutique hotel management company that works with independent owners and lenders to run their hotels, because they either don't have the capability, the bandwidth, or the desire to do it anymore. And the thesis at the time was that a lot of hotels are going to go bankrupt. There's going to be a lot of properties changing hands, a lot of investors
Mhm.
coming in and buying up distressed assets. So how I could position myself to be a resource for them. That really just turned into a lot of consulting jobs, and never actually turned into any hotel management contracts. But I'm still pushing to try to make that happen. Out
Mhm.
of that grew the podcast. And the reason that the Proven Principles podcast came to be was, first of all, to try to shed some light on the current situation and how properties and people can keep moving forward.
Mhm.
Um, it was also, I thought of it initially as like a sales funnel, like a top of funnel way of getting my name out there and getting people to see what I'm doing in a different way.
Mhm.
And that quickly morphed, though, into conversations with people like yourself, like other professionals in the industry, on where should we be going? What are the problems that we all know are in the industry that need to be changed? And
Mhm.
rather than just complaining about it, how do you fix it? What are the real concrete steps that we can take to make things truly better? So that's
Yeah.
been going on now for almost 2 years, and it's been this passion project that I didn't even know was going to be a thing. And then the next thing after that was at the beginning of 2021. I saw that there was a big need, and a lot of the calls and the consulting projects that I was doing were people that, rather than getting into traditional hotels, investors buying traditional hotels, they were buying distressed motels and apartment buildings and wanting to turn them into short-term rentals, not be a typical hotel. And
Mhm.
that a light went off at that point to be
Yeah.
like, okay, look, there's definitely something here, because the only difference truly is that you're running a one-room hotel instead of a however many keys are in your building.
Mhm.
And so that's how recreation vacation rentals came to be, where we're taking this luxury hotel management methodology and processes and practices, and not just how we take care of our guests, but how we take care of owners. And that's a big distinction. And because, in the luxury hotel world, I mean, owners are equally as doted over as the guests that are staying at the properties. And how do we take that philosophy and apply it to the vacation rental world? And so that's what I've been doing now almost exclusively for the last almost 12 months.
Wow. I love that. I mean, look how you pivoted. I hate to use that word. Look how you made a shift. I think that word's been so overused, drove me crazy. Um, but how you took your background and you took everything you've done and funneled it into something that's now moving forward with this paradigm shift, with this change that's happening,
Mhm.
and found the void and figured out a way to create something different. So what I heard you say is that what what you're now working to provide is more experiences for not only the end, the guests, but as well by working with lenders and owners
Mhm.
and actually converting an existing property that is now probably suffering or dying and needs to be bought out. So there's a win-win there,
Mhm.
and creating a whole different model from what there was, right? So it's
Yeah.
not just that things have to always go back to normal. I hate that expression. What is normal anyway?
Mhm.
And instead of going back to anything, I believe that we need to move forward to find that silver lining. And that's what I see you've done here, that you saw this void that people are looking for more unique experiences. And I know that we talked about that before. So just tell us, like, where are you now with this company, with this, projection of growth
Mhm.
in this niche market, because it's quite unique. And I think it's a really brilliant one for moving forward and helping grow out of the depressed market of what's happening due to COVID. Because
Mhm.
also people are not wanting necessarily to stay in a big hotel where there's a lot of guests around and a lot of people lingering in restaurants or in the lobbies, et cetera. So how do you address that?
Yeah, that's a really great question. And there's a couple of things that we used as to form recreation that were guideposts for us, I suppose is a good way to put it. So the first, obviously, is how the travel needs and wants are changing, um, and not just that. The typical guest makeup within a hotel, that's changing too. The 60% group and 30% leisure, and like that's not even a thing right now. So so people are that all of that is blending is what we're seeing.
Mm,
So people are, group travel is somebody might come pre or post and want to stay a little bit longer. Business travel, maybe they're staying for longer so they can sort of embed themselves into a location and sort of have like a co-working, co-living situation. All of that is still a little bit undefined. But we're learning from the customers as we move forward. The second is that if you look at where Marriott and Accor are putting a lot of time and energy, and Marriott is putting a lot of energy into growing their homes and villas product. It's a new brand that launched. I don't know exactly when it launched. Let's call it a couple of years ago. There's a lot of attention here where they're building a home share platform that's included. It's under their Marriott brand and it's part of the Bonvoy program. You can get points and all that. That they clearly see that there's an opportunity there. Of course, doing the same thing with One Fine Stay, and they've got a very similar product there. So if those two big companies, rather than screaming into the wind about how vacation rentals are stealing share from their business, and they've just decided, you know what, we're just going to create our own little sort of walled garden around that, that that's a place where I think in 5 years, the layman hotel manager might actually give some respect to. So anyway, that's a long-winded way of saying those are kind of the things that ended up giving us some confidence that this was the right way to go. So as a company where we are, I'll just answer your question now. I'm babbling. Is we started with 0 properties, and last year we started the company last year. We ended 2021 with 7 properties under management. We've got 35 properties in play for contracts right now. So
Fantastic.
it's fingers crossed that we can
Yeah.
we can make a go of this in 2022.
Yeah. So I believe it 100%. And I think you mentioned something really important that I just want to highlight, in that, you're seeing and paying attention to what customers are now wanting. The changes are drastic in terms of their expectations, even despite all the problems that they know that businesses are having with staffing. Their expectations are still quite high.
Mhm.
And so I think it's important to look at what is the future. Just don't look at what's happening now. Look at where's the potential in the future. Where is the trend going? What is it that people want as a result of the pandemic and what's going on? And how, now that we've experienced these new experiences, it's changed what we want going forward. It's not like we want to go back to the old model.
Mhm.
And the fact, I agree that like Marriott is basically totally on board with this and creating it into their portfolio, I think is a huge, huge nod for people to wake up and say,
Mhm.
something's going on here. And it's something that we need to be a part of and to provide. And you call it recreational vacation rentals.
Mm.
So tell us a little more about that.
Yeah,
Um,
recreation vacation rentals.
I'm sorry.
So
Yes,
that's okay.
recreation.
Yeah, so recreation came about as the name is a play on some of the words that we were hearing at the start of the pandemic: workcation, staycation,
Mm,
vacation. So recreation is a play on that, and the intention is that we have properties that are able to serve many needs. If somebody wants to embed themselves in a specific location and work from there and live in a new place for a little while and experience everything that that location has to offer, whether it's partnerships with local bakeries or a chef coming over to your house, or massages in your apartment, or maybe it's kayak rental because you're near the water. Whatever that thing is, whatever the reason to be in that location is, that's what we're going to lean heavily into to give you a more local experience. And so you can do all the things that you need to do when you're there, but also unplug, which goes back to my first point, I think first point about burnout and taking time for yourself and recharging so that you can bring your 100% of yourself every single day to what you're doing.
right. I love that, because I don't think that really came out before, the recreation side of it. And I think, again, a great observation of, staycation, vacation, all, all the Asians, right?
Mhm.
What does that mean? And to incorporate that, and that of course ties in the experience that we all talk about here on Celebrity Customer Experiences, of anything in your business, the more you create an experience out of it, and that defines you. I think it distinguishes you and differentiates you from just a usual Airbnb
Mhm.
for, VRBO type situation.
Yeah, we like to think so. We're a high tech vacation rental management company, but that doesn't mean that we're not high touch from a service perspective. So we're, while everything is remote, and we could dive into that a little bit,
Mhm,
we're texting and emailing and phone calls with guests constantly. We have
mhm,
a pretty sophisticated automated email and communication system on the back end. Everything is very personalized. We're still very interested in what makes guests that stay with us tick, and what can we learn from them to enhance their stay, taking that
mm,
luxury hotel service piece and
mhm.
applying it here. It's just that it's happening in a lot of cases remotely with the staff that you're interacting with, because there's the only person who's truly on the ground is the cleaner of the house, and
Right,
a maintenance person if they happen to be around.
right. So again, a perfect example of how to roll with the changes, and you've created a company that's 100% remote
Mhm.
and still using high touch. And I want to point that out too, because I personally feel that companies should use technology for creating faster, more convenient, automate so that the experiences for your customers are better,
Mhm.
so that you allow more time for the personal interaction, that we transform the transaction into an interaction is my motto. And
Mhm.
I think what you're doing is a great example of that. I just want to highlight here again also, there we go. A LinkedIn user, unnamed, says, wow, Adam, that's awesome growth. Oh,
Thank you.
Robin
Thank you.
M.
Thanks, Robin.
Yeah. Thanks,
Yeah.
Robin, for writing in. Yeah, that is great growth. And I foresee tremendous. I can't wait to keep in touch with you to hear how that grows, because I know it will be huge. We're rounding here the 30-minute mark, which I committed to try to keep these shorter to keep people here. So I just gonna ask one last question, which I like for my guests to always leave some quick takeaway, something that's important, that is easy to implement, that whoever's listening, businesses, and if you're watching the replay, thank you. Comment, tag us in your question in the replay as well. But what can they take away that would allow them to also move forward with this current paradigm shift that we've been talking about, of to help their end users, their end guests, their end customers who are looking for those experiences?
That's a really good question. I think I have a lot of thoughts here, but to distill it down into one, I'm going to turn it around a little bit and have you look in the mirror at yourself and what it is that you're doing and how you have grown and what your observations and learnings are through this pandemic,
Hmm.
and ways that maybe you can take what you've learned and I get to use, the hated term pivot. What can you do to to do things that give you more energy so that you can bring the best of yourself every single day to your clients, your customers, your people. And I know that sounds very up here. It's very airy fairy, like look at yourself and do things that make you happy. But truthfully, there are a lot of specifically talking about the hotel segment here, you have a huge amount of knowledge and ability to cope with different situations
Mm.
and experiences that very few industries give people. And the thing is that if you've been doing it a long time, sometimes you don't even know that this is a skill that you have. It's because it's within you. It's innate,
Yeah,
right?
I do think
So
that. Yeah, especially for
yeah,
hospitality folks. Yeah.
completely. So how can you take that and serve the industry perhaps in a way that gives you more strength, more energy,
Mm.
more excitement to get up in the morning and do what it is that you're going to do. There's definitely people out there that want to know what you know and want to leverage your expertise. That's the place I think that we need to lean into. And that's the
Yeah.
thing that's going to provide more fulfillment for people in this industry.
I love that. Kind of like Michael Jackson's, right? The man in the mirror. Like start with looking at yourself and recognizing how much value you have. And
Mm-hmm.
I think that's the key. Don't ever doubt yourself. Always look for all the successes that you've had to give you the proof, to remind yourself to not fall into that negative track.
Mm-hmm.
Um, yeah, Adam, I think you're a brilliant example of how not to just recognize the needed shift, but actually finding the void in the market
Mm-hmm.
and pairing it together really with the rising need and desires of the guests, the customers, all the things that they're wanting to do, because they still want to travel. And more importantly, this shift includes having experiences despite the challenges of the pandemic. And I
That's
think you've
exactly
done a
right.
great job in creating this wave and seeing the wave start, but also riding the crest into the future with what's going on. So thank you for your contributions.
Thank you,
I'm
Joe.
going to put up here, if anyone wants to reach out to Adam, here are two ways to reach him: through LinkedIn, and it is just his name, Adam Knight. Knight is the last name spelling, and the same by his name in Instagram.
Mm-hmm.
So definitely reach out to Adam for sure, because you are on to something big for sure. And I'm
Thank
excited
you.
to see what happens. And I love that you've listened looked at, studied, analyzed what's going on and where we're going and what the needs are, and are working to meet those needs. So
Thank you.
thank you for that. Yeah, absolutely. And I just want to, let me see here, uh, mention that, if you realize that your leadership or your company is functioning still in the 2019 thinking, as I call pre-pandemic thinking, and you want to change to stay current, to thrive in the future, to thrive currently, to make those shifts, to reach, then, reach out. Let's talk. My information is now on the screen. My website, jillraff.com. And there's a bar at the top that, oh gosh, I always forget what it says, but it says, I think it says, "Hi Jill, I want to know more," or "Let's talk," or something like that. And then it gives you a fun opportunity through short little video bursts to actually talk to me, see me, hear me, ask you questions, and for you to answer, what's going on in your company and what challenges you have and how you can meet the needs going forward. So, Adam, any last guests? I'm sorry, any last words for those who are watching today?
Yeah, if anybody has any questions, they want to reach out. If I can help you in any way, please don't hesitate to reach out. I'm happy to jump on a call, do a strategy call, whatever it is. Please reach out, because the only way that we're all going to get through this is by working together.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Thank you so much, Adam, for joining us. I really appreciate it. Next week, I have another guest, very excited about, Calvin Stovall, who has a very interesting and diverse background. Also, right, we talked about bringing in the diversity of the things that we do. And he's a part of another groundbreaking new concept, again, going in the with eyes wide open and investing in the future, not just riding on the return to normal approach, which I love that. So we started out today with Adam with, something new and evolving. And join us next week, Thursday, same time, same place, for more thoughtful examples of how we're doing this. Adam, thanks again for joining me. Everyone, I appreciate you joining today. And please stay in touch. Watch the replay, feedback, share with us, and we appreciate you joining. Thanks.